Previously, we had Dr. Suleiman Kigundu, our first chairman, Noah Mukwana, who was the chairperson of the Disability League, Sam Kalega Njuba, who succeeded Dr. Kigundu and was a member of parliament. And today we have Dr. Frank Wilberforce Bulima Nabwiso lying prostrate here. I would like to say it is very important that these kind of proceedings take place. Professor Nabwiso is going to be the first to be recognized under the auspices of a special sitting of the National Executive Committee. And I believe this should, beginning from now, remain our culture. I am not going to speak much about a person whom all of us knew. I spoke yesterday at the vigil in the house at Kiwanga in the evening. And Mommy, thank you for hosting us at your home. It was such a wonderful celebration of a life of a person that was lived to its fullest. A honest, peaceful, intelligent, scholarly, humble, humorous. You know, Professor Nabwiso could sing and sing with his heart. Loving and caring son of Busoka, son of Uganda. On behalf of the National Executive Committee, and indeed on behalf of the entire leadership and members of the Forum for Democratic Change nationally, we would like to convey to Mama and the family our heartfelt condolences and to pray to the good Lord that He may rest our brother, our father, our mentor, our leader in eternal rest. I had some kind of personal ties with Dr. Frank Nabwiso, and this stems back at the time when we met in Parliament. I think I should speak to this because if I look around, I don't see any member of the 7th Parliament. Professor Nabwiso in the 7th Parliament. We met there the first time I became member of Parliament. And he represented the people of Kakoma very well. A man who stood up to speak after researching what he wanted to speak on. A man who spoke for the preservation of the environment and resisted to his last energy the cutting down of Butamira forest. A man who exposed the sinister motives of the current regime, where there was a plan and that still exists to rule or govern this country for 50 years. Professor Nabwiso, in his usual manner of researching, came with a document and laid it on the table and said anybody who wants to dispute this can dispute it, but the facts are here for all of us to see. And it was not a prophecy, it was a fact, and it's happening. It is now coming to 40 years. 10 more years left. I am sure these same individuals, if all of them are still alive, will go and sit when the 50 years are about to end to determine the fate of this country in the next 50 years. And therefore, in honoring this great son of Uganda, I would like to call upon all democratic forces in this country to push even harder to ensure that these people who have mismanaged our country for a long time are stopped. And I want to make a commitment before the country and all of you that the FDC will not spare any effort, any energy in doing this. With those very, very long remarks, I would like to now usher in the Honorable Robert Franco Centenary, MP Emeritus of Kasese Municipality, to move a motion to pay tribute to our fallen hero.
Stakeholders, media practitioners, my fellow citizens, I, Boniface Totelevuka Bamwenda, second a motion to pay glowing tribute to Honorable Professor Dr. Omwijukuru Frank Wilberforce Bulima Nabwiso. He's my Mwijukuru. Whenever I refer to him as my Mwijukuru, he would say Jaja. So when you hear these names Bulima, those are words from our place. The town council between Hoima and Masindi called Bulima. Honorable Dr. Frank Nabwiso, in his youthful days, worked in Radio Uganda, whatever you can call now UBC, in post-independence Uganda. Honorable Dr. Frank Nabwiso was secretary of the peace talks in Nairobi of 1985. They were chaired by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Toroitich Daniel Arap Moi, the NRM side, NRM, where Dr. Nabwiso was secretary. Official spokesman Dr. Samson Bavi Mululu Kiseka, legal advisor Wycliffe Kazora, led by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Elia Franka Tukahirwa Kategaya, Matthew Ruchikaire, Grace Stewart Ibinjira, Sam Male, Sam Kalega Njuba, Gertrude Njuba, Matthew Ruchikaire, I think I've mentioned here. Eli Tumwine, the government side, the Uganda National Liberation Army, represented by the chairman of the Military Commission and head of state, General Tito Okello, vice chairman, Brigadier Guard Wilson Toko, Minister of Defense, Olaro Tunu, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogerere, Minister of Internal Affairs. Olaro Tunu was for Foreign Affairs. Professor Dent Ochayala Kidi, Minister of Local Government. Sam Kahamba Kutesa, Attorney General. On the Rutwa side, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Kweya, Major Kaliesubula, Major Thomas Kiyengo from Gomba here, Mpenja. Fellow mourners, when we were in our National Executive Committee retreat at Navinonya, I asked the encyclopedia, my Mwijukuru, Honorable Dr. Frank Nabwiso, that's why was the Nairobi peace talks not implemented? You were yourself secretary. Can you provide us details? Dr. Professor Nabwiso said those were just peace jokes. That was the answer I received. I don't know those who go to negotiate, those who are for agreements, are also for peace talks, which enabled his side to reorganize and finally assault Kampala. So, negotiations, the ink had not even dried after the Nairobi peace talks. Kampala was shelled with bombs. And legal notice number 1 was enacted, which is still in force up to today. The peace talks of Nairobi were not implemented. Dr. Frank Nabwiso is a peacemaker. He's a son of a reverend. So you should not be surprised why he was really an astute Ugandan. A real human being, very respectful to the young, the middle-aged, and the old. I've told you in his humbleness, I used to refer to him as my Mwijukuru, and he would respect me as Jaja. Again, in that Nabinonya, I mentioned Cecilia Ogwal. I think it is very really disappointing. All these are going this year. When I refer to Cecilia Ogwal as my daughter, some people were surprised. That's how we refer to each other. So now, I am in deep mourning of all these friends of ours, these distinguished Ugandans who had this country at heart. It's very unfortunate. Uganda has been conquered. It is being dominated and being occupied. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, Secretary General, members of the National Executive Committee, may the soul of the deceased be sustained. So help me God.
Thank you very much for that exposition. I will now request
in the name of Nabwiso, we who follow him now hesitate to find the direction we are going to take to steer our party to its logical conclusion. However, we are saying in Uganda, awakule nume tewakule emu. We are going to soldier on until we win the journey. However, it will not be a complete journey without the name of Nabwiso in our ranks. And I must pray very hard, and I want you to pray for me that I survive up to the time that we take over our government leadership. Now, recently, I think early this year, I was listening to CBS News. It was on a Wednesday, and there was a talk which normally comes soon after 7 o'clock, chaired by who is this man? Say it again? No. Lady Sereko.
For some of you can remember, Professor could move with a bag, but that bag has two holy books, a Bible and a Quran. For purposes of reference, religious reference, and therefore he loved the name Farouk. Therefore he was Farouk, just as Nathan is Hassan. Mr. Chairman and honorable members, I met Professor Dr. Frank Nabwiso in 1997 when I was a very young man,
a councillor, a youth councillor in Jinja, and by then I was together with Honorable Mabike in Uganda Young Democrats. He was my Secretary General, and I was
Dr. Frank Nabwiso. I'm going to extract one item that has been a pillar as far as empowering knowledge is concerned. He has been a writer, he has been a reader, he has been a visionary as far as sharing knowledge is concerned. Mr. President and fellow NEC members, I bring in a proposal to amend the resolution and have a supplement of FDC to consider establishing the FDC Professor Frank Nabwiso's library under his name. I believe that even in his departure, among his ongoing efforts, at the time of him passing away, it was a plan to empower the people of Busoga, the people of Uganda, through the different workshops as my senior element has talked about. I believe that when we establish the Frank Nabwiso Memorial Library in the FDC party headquarters, we shall have done the following. Number one, his intellectual and practical contribution to the opposition of this country and national development would have got a very lasting monument in the FDC headquarters. Two, we shall have put a long-lasting, completing vision of his nature that he really deserved for a long period of time. Three, the leadership development is going to be at the height in the consideration that the FDC already we have the Leadership Academy. This library is going to be a very crucial place for us to consider as far as pushing his agenda is concerned. How is it going to be impactful? Number one, we shall have this at a place where every person who loved the literature of Dr. Frank Nabwiso come and visit that hub in the form of a library to get the knowledge which he shared, which he wrote, which he researched, and recently which he even reviewed some books of big people in this country. All that can be there in that library. Mr. President, the Professor Nabwiso Memorial Library is not just a tribute, but a contribution of a legacy. It will serve as a symbol of Professor Nabwiso's education, democracy, and the fight against socio-economic injustices by equipping the current and the future leaders with knowledge and skills. This library will play a pivotal role in shaping a better Uganda and recognizing the people of Busoga for the great sun that is lying before us here. In conclusion,